Hopefully you woke up this morning a fantasy football champion, but even if you did or didn't, it's never too early to look ahead. I'm going to tell you who should be number one in fantasy football drafts for next season, 2021. I'm going to give you 5 options who I think have a case, and I'm going to tell you why or why they shouldn't be number one. And let's start with number 5, and that's Davante Adams. Davante Adams missed 2 games on the season and still going into week 16 was only 22 points short of Alvin Kamara for the overall scorer in PPR leagues. Imagine if he hadn't missed those 2 games, he probably would have been leading everybody in fantasy scoring outside of QBs. Now, Kamara dropped 56 in week 16, so that kind of ended that debate. But the fact remains, Davante Adams has an incredibly high ceiling, an incredibly high floor, and we saw him almost every single week he was healthy. He was a top 5, top 10 option at the wide receiver position. Now, it's hard to say draft a wide receiver over any of the running backs I'm going to talk about, unless you're in some crazy league that really helps wide receiver scoring. And that's why I can only put Davante Adams at number 5, but he should without a doubt be the number 1 wide receiver off the board in next year's drafts. And then at number 4, I'm going to go with Saquon Barkely. I know it's easy to forget about Saquon Barkely. He didn't play a whole lot this year, but this is a guy who was a consensus number 1, number 2 pick for the last 2 years. Started a little slowly this year. Of course, missed most of the season with that ACL injury, but I can't drop him too much simply because we've seen when he's on the field, he's a top 2 or 3 running back with a super, super high floor. Now, the Giants offense did regress a bit this year. They did look a little worse, and I think that drops him out of the top 2 or 3 down to number 4. But to me, he's still a solid option. He's got to be in the top 5. At number 3, I'm going to go with Alvin Kamara. I know a lot of people might be looking at him as the number 1 pick next year. He won you your fantasy championship in week 16, no doubt about it. But there are some concerns here, namely what's going to happen with Drew Brees. Because we saw without Drew Brees, Alvin Kamara, he was okay, but he certainly wasn't worthy of the number 1 pick. So Drew Brees, he looks like he's on his last season. It doesn't look like he's going to be back. Is it going to be Taysom Hill? Is it going to be Jameis Winston? Is it going to be somebody else? I don't know. But the fact is, without Drew Brees checking the ball down to Alvin Kamara and all those receptions, his value will drop. I'm not going to drop him out of the top 5, but I'm also not confident enough at this time to say he would be my number 1 pick over the next 2 players. Hey, before I get to the top 2, if you're enjoying the video or if you're finding it helpful, please go ahead and take a second. Just hit that subscribe button and click the bell notification. We're going to bring you content to help you out throughout the entire offseason so that when you go into your 2021 drafts, you're ready to dominate your league and take home that title. With that out of the way, let's get on to the list. And speaking of which, number 2, I'm going with Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook, every week, consistency led you to the championship. Unfortunately, in week 16, he just had an okay game. It's not like he killed your team, but not the game you were hoping for in the championship from Dalvin Cook. But that shouldn't change the fact that he's a guy who locked into 20-plus touches every single week. Shouldn't be any major changes in this Vikings offense, right? Should be bringing back Jefferson. Should be bringing back Thielen. Maybe Cousins is gone, but I don't think it matters. This is an offense. This is a coaching staff that wants to run the ball. They want to feature Dalvin Cook. He comes with one of the safest floors with an amazing ceiling. Got to lock him in at number 2, but I can't have him over number 1, and that's Christian McCaffrey. I know I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for this because Christian McCaffrey let your fantasy team down this year, but look at the facts. In the 3 games Christian McCaffrey played, he got pretty much every single touch, took 90% of the snaps. He didn't score less than 25 fantasy points in any of his 3 games. He averaged 30 points per game in those 3 games. He is still, without a doubt, the number 1 fantasy player. Don't be scared by the injuries this year. Don't think he's now injury prone. This is a guy who handled a zillion touches in college without getting hurt, has never missed a game in the NFL until this year. It's hard to imagine Christian McCaffrey not being the number 1 guy next year. If he's healthy, he's got that 400-point fantasy football ceiling. You just can't get that from anybody else. You got to still take Christian McCaffrey number 1. I can't drop him out of that number 1 spot. Now, I want to hear from you guys. Who do you got at number 1? Drop me a comment. What do you disagree with me on the top 5? Do you have a different top 5? Let me know that in the comment as well. And don't forget, hit that subscribe button, click that bell notification, give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Appreciate you, and I'll see you next time.